Welcome to Rein It In. This is Matt.
And I'm Rachel.
And we're back for probably going to be our last Japan podcast. If you haven't listened to the others, go back. We've got like 8 or something of them.
Yeah. We podcasted a lot while we were in Japan.
Yeah. What are we doing for this one?
We're doing a wrap up. We've been home for a month, which is hard to believe. And in that month, I did a lot of work crap, so we haven't had time to do anything fun like podcast. So now, what we're going to do is walk you through some of our favorite things. And
we're going to do kind of a top 10 and a little bit of like things we want to do if we go back.
Yep.
So let's kick it off. Like Rachel said, we've been back for over a month.
Yeah, just a little bit over a month.
Yeah, a little over a month. And, we've had some time to think about things. We've definitely just gotten re-immersed in everyday life.
It's so sad.
No, it was such a good trip still. You still got to have your everyday stuff. But
I know.
Still think about fond memories fairly often about things we did.
Yeah.
So we want to kind of wrap up. We'll maybe give a little bit of, I don't know, maybe there'll be some tips in here. But we're going to kind of talk about the things we did. So if anybody's looking to go to Japan, these are the things I would recommend you look for and try to take part in.
Right.
So what we decided to do is we're going to do a top 10, but we each made our own top 5 list.
Right.
And then we haven't shown each other. We're going to kind of talk through them. We're going to start on the bottom. Rachel's covering her sheet up. And at the end, we'll kind of see where we came. We'll see where we have overlap.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see where we overlap and where we don't.
What are the rules too, right? So like if you say, my favorite thing was X and X is on my list, I'll be like, oh, that was on my list too, and then we'll just call that one good, right? We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. So you want to start with your first, and how are you rating your list? What made you come up with your list?
I just went with the first things that I thought of, and now I realized I forgot a thing, but that's okay. I've got my list.
No going back now.
So I'm gonna start with this.
Yep.
One of the things that I really liked was, although we spent a lot of time in very urban places, it seemed relatively easy to find like nature space that was really often pretty significant in size. Like the 2 parks that we went to in Tokyo were very big.
Yeah.
The one in Akita was really big. And then, obviously it was pretty easy to get to. It's close to get to a lot of nature stuff once you're in Hokkaido.
Yeah.
So I sort of liked how that, not sort of liked, I did like, because I put it on my list.
Yeah.
I darn well liked the sort of relationship that we had between the kind of really urban times, but then also the ability to step out of that and engage with nature and parks. And some of the parks just felt like more impressive for some reason.
Well, so funny enough, right, this is why we're married and why we travel well together, is that my number 5 was not quite that, but it was pretty close. My number 5, I'm going to say my number 5 here because I think they get to some of the same stuff, is that we're in Tokyo, one of the biggest cities in the world, right? There, I don't know, is it 17 million? I don't know. We should look up some of these stats instead of just, making stuff up.
Well, I think there's like almost 40 million in the
metro area,
in the larger surrounding area.
Okay,
yeah,
but it's massive.
Very large.
And there's not like tall buildings like Manhattan, because obviously they have earthquakes and just sort of different foundational landmass to build on. But there's a lot of height, and there's a lot of buildings that are all packed together. So one of the things I liked the first time I was there, and I really enjoyed it this time too, is that even though you might be walking between like tall buildings, with like 10 floors of stores and restaurants and bars packed together with like lots of other people and noise and pachinko parlors and, billboards that are like talking at you and stuff, like you might go from that and then literally like a 5 or 8 minute walk from there, you're in a little neighborhood street where like you might see 1 or 2 cars in a 15-minute walk. So, even though you're in this bustling metropolis and you walk by roads and like they have, a lot of walking overpasses because you can't just, do Shibuya Crossing everywhere.
Right.
So you actually go over the roads a lot. But once you get a little bit off those busy roads, I was really surprised at how few cars there actually are, because
Mm-hmm.
people aren't using their cars in a daily way like we are, I don't think.
And this is more in Tokyo. Like certainly when we were in like the little towns,
We saw more cars.
you see more cars.
Yeah, that's for sure. So in Tokyo it was. But I think that kind of blends to the same thing, is that even though you're in this really big, happening, industrial sort of city, right? Or whatever you want to, however you want to consider it, but there's still like lots of little pockets of quiet. And at the same time too, right? Like lots of little trees in the things and little parks within within those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So and then the big parks, yeah, I would agree, they're definitely impressive. They're not the ones we were in, although honestly the one where Meiji Shrine is probably close to like Central Park kind of size.
Yeah, I would have to look at them both on a map, but
yeah, it probably isn't quite that big, but
but
there's a bunch of those in
so
one
big.
city.
The
is
trees
the other
just
thing.
felt really, really large.
Yeah,
in that
old
particular part. Yeah,
and
old.
There, yeah, established. Yeah, I would agree. There was sort of like a, I don't know, I say gravitas or something, but it was just sort of like the presence was pretty strong, and there were quite a number of them, which was nice too.
Yeah, definitely.
So nature in the city, access to nature, which honestly goes along with the stereotypes, right? The Eastern ideal of meshing those things, but it makes it pretty pleasant, right? It was actually, we might have talked about this on the last one. Some of the culture shock that I had was just getting back and having like open space in a different way, even here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of trees here in Atlanta, so that's not so much the problem, but just like the level of noise is different here. Like cars blaring radios and just cars everywhere.
People are louder, and the scooters, good God.
Oh yeah. I didn't really hate the scooters when we left, and I kind of hate them a little bit now.
Yeah. It was so nice being somewhere where there weren't any.
Yeah. So anyways, that was a compliment and a complaint. So that one, if you're going to go to Japan, it's going to be impossible not to experience that part, right? But definitely make some time to go to some of the big parks.
Yeah, I would.
Check out Meiji Shrine. It's infamous and famous. And maybe check out the Rockabilly Dancers.
Yeah.
On the Yoyogi Park kind of side of that. Is that actually Yoyogi Park? It might be.
It is.
Yeah, but it's on the Harajuku
the bottom side.
Yeah. I'm motioning with my hand, which you guys can obviously see.
Right.
All right, so what about, so that was kind of both of our number 5s.
Right.
What about number 4?
Sochu.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, you can buy sochu in the U.S., but it's pretty much all Korean. A lot of it tends to be really cheap. Like, you can get bottles of sochu for like $5. Like
here?
Yeah.
Or there? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of almost like wine-sized bottles. So it's not super
it's flavored.
quality.
It's kind of funky.
Yeah. So I didn't really have a lot of expectations for it, but it was super fun to try a bunch of different kinds of sochu. Every bar, well, not every bar, but most bars would have a few different kinds that you could try.
Well, and the other thing to point out, right? So sochu is kind of it's a distilled liquor, clear. It's like a light alcohol vodka kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhere in between sake and vodka.
Yeah, I'd say that. Right. I think it's maybe like 50 proof, right? Like 25% alcohol.
It's not that high.
I thought it was.
Oh, maybe 25. Maybe.
The
I would say it probably rolls somewhere in between like 18 and 25.
Sure. Which is stronger than most sake, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's liquor, but it's a softer liquor, I would say. But it's also made from a lot of different stuff, and I think we talked about this before too. So it was kind of fun trying, whether it was from rice or barley or sweet potato or shiro, which is the perilla leaves, I guess, the root, something from that plant. Yeah, herbs. And actually, we just saw some that were just like brown sugar.
Yeah.
As well, I think, and you can definitely tell. I think sometimes we'd have one, like sweet potato always seemed to be a little more sour and sharp.
Yeah, it's a little harsher.
Yeah. And then
still, I mean, it's not like drinking it isn't like drinking a shot of vodka where you're like, you feel like you've kind of consumed a lot of alcohol and like you might, breathe fire.
But it's just not as pleasant.
Yeah.
Like I just wouldn't order those a second time often. So I was telling Rachel right before we started, like I kind of made my list as it's almost like a list of top ones. So, we talked about my first one, and this one kind of feeds into one of mine too, right? And this is not surprising that all these are going to kind of overlap. But mine was sort of just the drinking with locals.
Right.
And I think that feeds into the sochu, it feeds into the sake, and just going out and chatting with people. We've talked about that on the different podcasts. If you want to hear a little bit more, you can go back to the Magical Sake Nights episode. And it was just fun, you know, hanging out. Like usually would just start out with just the two of us doing things and walking around and having a couple drinks here and there throughout the evening, and then ending up a few of the nights ending up places where we were chatting with the bartender or chatting with the patrons and the bartender.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, we had, I mean, this is like a common piece of advice, right, that people give to travelers, but
Rick
we've
Steves every
never
time.
really done it before. I don't really like talking to people, you know?
No,
People
right.
are
Sit at the
scary.
bar, right, is the piece of advice. That's
Yeah.
what Rick Steves always says, right? If you want to meet
Yeah.
the locals, sit at the bar, strike up a conversation. Yeah, but the funny thing is, right, when we've been other places, we kind of specifically don't do that. Like,
Right,
we're
yeah.
kind of like in our own little bubble, and we want to be in our bubble.
My parents are much better about it.
Oh, man.
They'll talk to everybody.
Yeah,
Like, everybody understands. They'll make friends with anybody and everybody.
yeah. Which we cramped their style, for sure.
We did when we were in South
when we were in
America.
South America with them. But yeah, no, it was, and I don't know if I'll do it everywhere, right? Because sometimes I just like spending time with you, and I don't want.
Well, yeah, I don't want to start a conversation with a stranger everywhere I go.
Yeah.
But it was, I think it was really like one of the more important sort of things about the trip.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was important too to just like sort of practice those language skills that we had been really, well, okay, you had been working really hard on, and I had not worked at all on in about, you know,
Just because
18
I
years.
spent like a year every night doing like 15 minutes of Duolingo, I can't say I worked really hard at it.
Well, you worked really consistently.
Okay,
and
consistently, sure, we'll give you that. But, and you know, honestly, some of this plays into your ego or my ego, right? Like that's the general you, not just calling you out as an egotist.
I mean, I am. It's okay.
But right, like yeah, we'd spent some time on language stuff, and like it was rewarding when people were like happy to know that you went to trouble to come all the way to Japan.
Yeah.
Right, because everybody goes to Paris, everybody goes to London, and you're like, yep, tourist, right? But I think the Japanese are still like I wouldn't say surprised, but I think it's still interesting to them.
Right. Well, and especially once you get out of Tokyo.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, some of it too might be, you know, we're tourists a lot, and you know, even if you're like in a different town in Georgia, right? Like you're tourists in that town. And I think a lot of times because you do just sit at the table and you're not part of that, right? Like if you actually interact, I think it sort of makes them feel like you're
Right.
actually trying to take part.
Yeah. That is one of the nice things that like bed and breakfast kind of force you to do is interact with people over breakfast.
Yeah, but then you're just interacting with a bunch of other tourists too. I mean,
That's true. Well,
yeah.
I mean, but the hosts. Sometimes you get good interactions
Yeah,
with the hosts. And
yeah.
sometimes you get really weird ladies who cook breakfast like 4 hours. So long. How could that breakfast have taken that lady so long to cook? Sorry, Savannah.
I don't know.
Holy crap. We
Yeah.
sat at that table for like 2 hours
Yeah.
just waiting for this woman to finish
Yeah.
cooking breakfast.
Like
Talking awkwardly
partners
with
were
strangers.
getting up and in like in shifts.
Yeah.
Like one half of the couple would get up and like do a little bit of packing and then come back.
Yeah.
And the other one would go up and do a little bit of packing because we're all like, we got to get out of here at some point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
exactly. Sorry,
so
total aside.
be cautious of long breakfasts at bed and breakfasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say, but sochu specifically, right? I'm going to give you one of my, I'm loosely calling them regrets, right? But things I wish I would have thought to do while we were there, or made more time to do, things I look forward to doing if we go back.
Right.
And one of those is a sochu tour, because we did sake tours. We did a bunch of like whiskey tasting,
Right.
and we did plenty of sochu drinking.
We did.
And
I mean,
tasting.
and we did a bunch of beer
and
places
and
too.
beer places too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be fun to like learn a little bit more about the Japanese sochu.
Yeah,
Right.
agreed. I don't even know. I mean, like, what part of the country do they make it in? I don't even know.
I don't know.
So
Got
we
me.
were in sake area, but
Yeah.
we don't know.
Right.
We don't know anything about soju.
So should we kick into? I guess we're at number 3.
We are at number 3.
Although we're at number 3, but it's also kind of number 6.
Yeah. So, but I started the last 2. You start this one.
Oh crap. Okay. Let's see. I'm out of order on my list, even though they're all number 1. I would say we'll shift to this one. This one's a little bit more practicality stuff. my top list things for practicality things was that JR pass for us was fantastic.
Yeah, it really was.
We watched a bunch of YouTube videos before we went about like whether or not JR passes are worth it. I did a bunch of calculations, like checking all the like ticket prices and routes, just to make sure we knew where we were going. We did a lot of planning.
We did.
And
Matt did a lot of planning. I mean, he was definitely the heavy lifter on the planning of this trip.
right. So, but I mean, when you're going to do, I mean, because we think it came to about 1,400 miles, right, by train, and a little bit of plane. Within, ultimately, that was only like 2 weeks of the trip. Like, you got to make sure you got the schedule down, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
if you're gonna get out of Tokyo, if you're only gonna be in Tokyo, don't get the JR Pass.
Right.
But definitely get a Suica card or one of the IC cards. I don't know what the hell IC stands for.
Nope.
But it's basically like you can charge these little cards that you can use. And this is kind of funny. We've probably talked about this before too. There's like 2 to 3 different train companies that run the trains in Tokyo. Right, so some of them are JR, and that's like the Yamanote line, and there's a couple other like major lines. Most of them are the Japan Metro. What is it called? But this is the one that has like the M.
Right.
And they run most of the other lines that go other directions than just the big circle. That's what the Yamanote, like the green line, is just a big circle. And then there's like some trains that get you out of the city a little bit that are usually connected to JR, but I think there was at least one other thing. But you can get your Suica card or your IC card, and you can charge it. You have to use cash, it seemed like. But you can use it for any of the services. So it's not like you have to get your MARTA card just for MARTA. And back when the streetcar was not part of MARTA, you had to pay like a different fee with a different system on that. So even though like there's a lot of different businesses running some of these things, you can use the same thing. You can use them on some of the ferries. And you can also use them in a lot of vending machines. You can use them in 7-Eleven.
Some bars were taking us.
Oh, bars too, really? That's interesting.
Well, I mean, you paid for our beers with yours, right? When we were at that train station. We were a little flustered. It was easier than trying to pay in cash. It was, what city was that? Niigata.
Yeah. Right, I forgot about that. Right, so, and because that was like a little bit of a tourist shop.
It was in a train station, but it was like it wasn't.
Yeah, it was a business.
It was a bar, restaurant, sort of thing.
But it's handy, right? Because Japan is very cash based still.
Yeah.
And so you're carrying cash a lot, but then sometimes you don't want to deal with figuring out change, and like you ended up, or we both ended up with just like pockets full of coins.
Yeah.
At the end, I had like $23 in coins in my pocket, and most of them are like ones, because I was in some fives or 100s, 500s, which are kind of the equivalent ish of $1 and $5. But yeah, it was like get the IC card, absolutely, like that's a no-brainer. It's just going to make your life a little bit easier. And then if you're going to leave Tokyo at all, definitely get that JR pass. Like the one that saved our bacon was when you misplaced your passport and wallet temporarily. You can go back and listen to that one in one of the earlier episodes. We missed our train, and it saved us like over $120.
Right, because we didn't have to re-buy tickets. We just had to wait for the next train because we had that pass.
Yeah. So, and it was just super, super convenient. I'd say like all the JR places we went into, some of them had bad reviews for like, I don't know, whatever. They were usually kind of warm, but the staff in the JR ticket things were like super efficient and helpful. Another pro tip on that one, if you're going to be doing a bunch of travel, like we went through and used, I forget what it is, you can email us if you want to know, but like there's a couple apps out there where you can get the actual rail timetables, like costs and everything. So we went in and we knew like what time, what day, what stations we wanted to go between. We just like wrote it all down on a piece of paper. We went into the station. We're like, okay, for ticket 1 we want this, ticket 2 we want this, and so it was super easy. They got us good seats. They told us if we had to know anything special about what was going on. If you go in there like an idiot and don't know what the hell's going on, it's obviously not going to go as smooth.
I mean, they'll still help you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it might just be harder.
It was just very easy because we like had a list, and then she just was like, "All right," and then printed out. And this was just a reserved seat.
Oh, why am I showing you my list? Right, just
I
reserved.
can look without reading. So this was just to reserve seats because the tickets were already paid for, but we wanted to make sure that we had seats on some of these trains. You don't even necessarily need to do that. If you have just the pass, you can sit in unreserved seating cars.
Right.
But of course, it might be full.
Yeah,
So.
and if you're paying for the JR pass, get the reserve seats because they're included in the price.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then you're going to get good seats. You can even ask too, like you want window seats. Look for where you're going because like one of the famous ones is a lot of people go from Tokyo to Kobe and Osaka, and you go by Mount Fuji, and so like you want to sit, I think, on the right side of the train on the
right,
way
if
out,
possible.
and you
Yeah.
want to sit on the left side on the way back. So like just be aware where you're going and what you're doing. We did some coastal trains, so we wanted to be on the outside for the coast. We were generally on the other side because of just how reserving the joyful trains worked.
Right.
But yeah. Do you want to do you have anything related to that one, or is your list different?
I do have
Converging.
one related to that one, which was just kind of train travel in
Okay.
general.
Yeah.
So I'm super happy that we chose to do as much as we did, even though it was a little bit tiring at times. But I'm also happy that we chose to do pretty much all of it by train, because I just like trains. You get to see so much. You get to see so much of what the countryside looks like.
Oh yeah.
And what the little towns look like. We got to, ride along the ocean. We took several of those joyful trains, which those are something you definitely need to reserve in advance.
Yeah, we had one almost 3 weeks, well, like two weeks ahead, and we had the last two seats.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And you can't, if you have your JR pass, you can't reserve your tickets until you get into the country because you don't actually get your JR pass until you get there.
Right, and
so
then
you
have to
buy
activate
it, you get a voucher when you show up, you activate it, then you can get your tickets.
Right, exactly. It's a little bit complicated, but that's because it's, for tourist use only.
Yeah, and it's super discounted.
It's super discounted train rides, yeah. And I also really liked Akita, which are the little sort of meal things that you eat when you're on the train. That, I mean, everybody talks about them, and they do tend to be sort of like around, what local people eat. Well, I mean, it is what people just eat on the train, right?
Yeah,
That's
we saw other people opening them, right? But usually, like you can, when you're at the station, they usually have a couple of them are really highlighting whatever the local like things are.
Right. Yeah.
So. Yeah, those were fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed them. I mean, it was, the constant game that you play while you're in Japan, which is what Random Fish is this, but in a good way.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to take a break. We'll come back and talk about a couple more things.
Yeah, and hopefully some of the sound is a little bit better. We're trying a slightly different recording process, and if not, sorry if your ears are getting blown out still. Pull out your headphones. We're about to get some music.
Yep. One of the things that I also wanted to talk about that I am really happy that we did was the different tours that we did. Most of the tours we did were really inexpensive and short, and then we did one that was a full day private tour that was expensive. All of them were worth it, I think. All of them, again, were nice opportunities to practice some language skills and to talk to some local people.
I feel like we need to do a worth it episode on this, except we don't have the cameras.
Exactly.
Because we kind of did 3 different price points on it too, right? One was like $20. One was like $30, but then you also had to pay some extra stuff.
Right.
And then the last one was significantly higher.
Yes. But it was great. Hokkaido Nature Tours. And the other ones we booked through Airbnb Experiences.
Yeah.
So the ones through Airbnb Experiences, it was, the one day we just had a local guy named Taku who took us through Nezu Shrine.
Yeah, such a nice guy.
And that was just fun. I mean, that ended up being a private tour too. It was open for, I think, up to 6 people, but it was just the 2 of us. Yeah. And he was great. We've talked about the Hokkaido Nature Tours one, and I think we talked about the Izakaya tour as well. But, I've never been interested in I want to do a package tour and have them take me around all the places. And I certainly wasn't interested once in Hokkaido we paid a premium to go on this private tour. there are a lot of bus tours that you can take in Hokkaido, but I was like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to sit on a bus with like 3 different languages, like telling you things and you sort of being herded to look at the flowers and get some ice cream and then leave, right?
Yeah.
So, but every time that we've done smaller tours, I've been really happy with it when we've traveled.
Yeah, we're definitely not getting paid by anybody,
Right.
but not by Airbnb experience. And before
I mean,
then,
we
it
get
was
paid by our
Tripper.
bosses.
Oh
but
yeah, right. Thank you, employers, very much.
for making all this possible.
Yeah, and my managers for letting me take so much time off. But yeah, I mean, it's like the Airbnb experiences. They've just been so fun, and there's often a bunch of them on there that look fun that I maybe don't quite want to do. You know, like things like you were talking about talking to locals, or we were talking about talking to locals. Like, there's ones where you can just like learn how to cook something in someone's kitchen.
Right. Yeah.
And that would be fun. I also, I could see it being a little awkward.
It seems a little intense, yeah.
Yeah. But if like you're into photography, especially in Tokyo, there's a gajillion like walking photography tours.
There's
like,
also architecture tours.
Yeah.
If you're and even like some places have like drawing or sketch tours.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we tried to do one of those in South America, and our plane didn't get there in time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, what a disaster that was. Anyway,
Worked out.
It was fun.
Travel insurance. Hey, we bought travel insurance this time. We did not need it.
We didn't.
It was a little bit, it definitely is not free relative to how much like we spent over that week, and how much we would have lost had we not been able to make it. We bought the travel insurance like 6 months early too. But more importantly, like if you can get back like a couple $100 a day if your plane is delayed, and we were delayed 3 days going to South America. So like that could have been handy. Fortunately, it wasn't the end of the world. But
I mean, for us, because we were sharing that place with my parents, like it wasn't like there was just an empty place that we were paying for, right? Like somebody was using the space that we were paying for, so it wasn't as big of a deal. But like if we had been paying 3 days of an Airbnb without us there, that would have been a super bummer.
Right. I think if I was doing like 5 days somewhere, I'm not even going to consider it. Right. But if I'm doing like 2 weeks or more, I'm definitely gonna. Oh, interesting. Sorry, we got pigeons on our patio that the cat is paying attention to. There's like a white one out there.
You haven't heard me swear about them yet, but
the what the hell was I just talking about?
Travel insurance.
Travel insurance. Right. That like I think it would have easily paid for itself in South America based on what I understood the claims how they worked.
Yeah.
And I thought about it this way like the whole time, right? Like everything went really smooth while we were there for 3 weeks.
It did.
And I feel like if we hadn't have been prepared with some of the things like travel insurance too, like things didn't go wrong because we were prepared.
Yeah.
If we hadn't been prepared, it might have gone wrong.
Been a disaster.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like I mean, we also won a lot of stuff. Like all we did was really knew where we were going to be sleeping and how we were getting between towns. We rarely had any other plans.
Except for the few tours that we booked. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
But even one of those, I didn't book the second Airbnb tour until
we were there, right?
It might have been like a couple days before we left.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Check out this thing. Anyway, I'm just like the more times that we've done it, I just like having the opportunity to walk around the city with someone who knows it really well. And gives you a different kind of perspective. Like, I mean, when we were walking around with Taku, the one guy at Nezu Shrine, which was a very good tour, he was like, oh, this is my elementary school, right?
Yeah, right, yeah. And then we walked by his junior high school, too, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, it was also cool to see those spaces and then also be reminded that, like, that they're living spaces, too, right?
It's not just a museum.
Yeah, exactly.
For tourists.
It's not just a tourist space. And I think that's one of the things that stands out similarly to your points about neighborhoods and cars and busyness, like that you can get into places that quickly in Japan, in Tokyo, you can get into places that feel very much just like people's homes and neighborhoods and lives.
Yeah. Well, so that first Airbnb that we had in Shinjuku was like West Shinjuku, and it was like a 15-minute walk, maybe a 17-minute walk from the train station, and it was pretty warm, and we were sometimes tired, but the nice thing was you like came into this crazy train station, probably from another crazy train station,
Yep.
or from some other crazy part of the city, and you walked a little bit, you walked over a street, and then you walked like what 6 or 8 blocks, probably like 6, in a little quiet neighborhood. So like you had your little chill out. It's like my commute, right? Like people think I'm weird because I go to the office, but because I take the train most days, like that travel time is like my decompression and my ramp up.
Right.
And it was the same sort of thing, right? It's like, okay, I'm getting my blood moving, we're walking, we're getting into town, we're doing what, like you have to plan a little bit, it takes a little bit extra time. But even on the way home, it was always kind of pleasant. Like it just kind of went from the crazy lights and noises to like quieter and like where you're like whispering on the street because it's quiet, right? Yeah.
It is really very quiet.
Yeah, fun. All right, so what your thing that was number 4.
Yeah,
I think,
that was tours. Yeah.
Tours. Yeah, I don't have tours. We kind of talked about those things. Oh no, I do, because we have all this overlap. I didn't have tours generally, but I had walking the abandoned highway in Hokkaido, which was Rachel mentioned. We talked about that on one of the other ones, but it was just. It sticks with me. Someone at work was asking what like the one thing that stuck out the most was, and that might be it. Is that like we jumped over 2 barriers that said "Do not cross" and like walked down this highway that went from being just like an old disused road to trees growing out of the middle of the highway and like the mountain collapsing across it into the river.
We have some cool pictures. We'll post another one with this post for anyone who didn't see our Hokkaido post. But yeah, some of the just kind of the way that nature was taking back over. I mean, it was very much. It reminded me a lot of Annihilation.
Yeah.
The book / movie.
Yeah.
Both of those parts are present in both of them. But yeah, that was so cool. And that was something that you would never find on your own. I could have driven to that place and looked at those waterfalls, but I would have been like, I'm not going to cross this. Like, I'm a white person. And like, I mean, like, I am suspicious if I am seen crossing do not cross signs, right, in this country.
Right. And when the work people showed up and were like, da-da-da-da, like, Ichi was like, oh yeah, he like talked to them in Japanese and they drove off and he was like, they said just be careful. Right. So yeah, it would have been different, right? And but it was fun. It was a little intense, right? Because there were bears out there potentially. We had Bear Bell. It's a little like Road Warrior with water and trees. Yeah.
It was really cool. So yeah. So I mean that is the good thing about paying someone to take you around, is that they will take you to places that you can't find on your own.
Right. And also that's also the thing for like doing that smaller tour, right? Because they're not going to take a busload of people there. In fact, there was a bus tour that was there while we were like getting a vending machine coffee and using the bathroom or something like that. And there was like a bus full of people like watching a crow that was sitting in the parking lot.
Right. But they all just got out and then had 5 minutes to take pictures, and then, because I mean there were some lovely waterfalls right off the parking lot. You didn't have to go anywhere. And then hopped back in the bus and went.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think
it would still be valuable and interesting, especially if you have mobility issues. Do something like that and get places where you can't go.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
We're fortunate enough we can still get around. We could climb that barrier.
Can still get around.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
not decrepit yet.
Or other health issues, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true. I've just been thinking about, like, we just started going back to yoga and I'm in such terrible shape, so it's like I could haul myself through Japan, but like doing like an hour's worth of yoga is pretty tiring.
It's been really nice going back to yoga.
It has been.
Like, yeah, it just like helps my brain.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was like 3 and 4 kind of. Then I think I only have 1 left on mine.
I have 1 left.
Yeah. So what's yours?
Ramen.
Oh, ramen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved all the ramen.
Yeah.
I really loved it. I loved every kind of ramen that I had. I want to eat all those kinds of ramen again.
Yeah. We put a lot of calories in our body. We burned a lot of calories walking around.
I haven't weighed myself since we got back, just FYI.
But oh God. I mean, it was basically like if we could find a way to fit like a fifth meal into some of those days, I would have just to eat more food.
Yeah. The food was delicious. I mean, ramen just kind of stands in for food more generally, but like, man,
it was fun too.
So fun to
it was
try
fun
all the
trying
different
kinds of ramen,
yeah.
right? The skemen, the
My
tantan,
dry, yeah.
yeah.
And the curry.
The curry one. Yeah, we found pictures of the curry one. I forgot I'd taken pictures of them.
Yeah.
We went on. We had someone called out. They were like, "Well, what's the big deal?" Like, it was a halal curry ramen, and they were like, "What's that make the difference?" Like, I don't know. You know, it kind of comes down to like, if you're a person who is not a vegan or a vegetarian but open to eating vegan or vegetarian food, you probably understand this too. It's like, or even what the hell is it? Biodynamic, the crap for wine. Like, you bury a horn in the thing. Like, some of it's like magic and superstition, but it comes down to if you have a tradition which pays more attention to the process by which you are like creating, providing, growing something, you're just paying more attention to it, and it's getting more, I wouldn't say love and care, right? But like, you're weeding it different. You're like making sure it gets all the right nutrients, and like, you're doing all those things that are going to end up with a better product and experience. And I think for me, the halal ramen, couldn't care less. It was halal, but it was like, it just seemed like they cared about what they were making, and you could really taste it.
Yeah. For sure.
That was a little mini rant.
Well, and I think also just like the it's a sign that they come from a culture that uses different spices, and they used them really effectively.
Yeah, in a really good fusion, for lack of a better word, right? Yeah. All right, I didn't have one about food on mine. That was kind of the drinking with locals.
I mean, when we talked about food the whole episode last time, so when I wrote ramen down on my list, I was like, that's kind of silly, but also ramen.
Yeah.
It was so good.
So, like I said, I kind of talked about mine as like a bunch of list of number ones, right? The one, walking the neighborhoods, right? We both talked about the nature and the, and kind of getting away from the noise while you're inside the city. You know, the convenience stuff with the trains and just the fun of traveling by train and getting out of the cities. I don't know. So my other number one, this isn't really my number one, but this is my number one thing that I was surprised I enjoyed as much, and the thing that I've found I've kind of missed in a different way than I expected, and that is onsen, and the like kind of like semi-ritual cleansing, bathing before you get in the onsen.
Yeah.
And the bathrooms even too. There were tiny bathrooms. Our bathroom is very nice. Like, I've got no problem with it. But it's like, it was like the thunder shirt of bathrooms. Like, you wake up in the morning and it's just kind of cozy and it's there. It
was interesting to have them double as clothes dryers. I did find that really interesting.
Yeah. Did we think we talked about that a little bit, right? But most of the bathrooms, you know, they have the fancy toilets that people hear about all the time.
We
with
did
the
talk
sprays
about that.
and the dries. Yeah, we talked about that. Those are interesting and actually very useful. I don't want to use the word fun related to toilets, but and the funny thing too, right, is a lot of the bathrooms, the sink faucet and the tub faucet were the same, right? Because the tub and the sink were right next to each other, and it was like a kitchen faucet, like a big long arm, and you just swiveled it whether you wanted it to fill the bathtub or you wanted to use it in the sink.
Yep.
That worked out fine. Yeah, efficient. And then there was usually always, actually all the ones we were in, a shower spray handle. And all the places we had like a holder lower, so if you were like more European, you know, you had it so you'd be like sitting or squatting in the shower or outside the shower to spray down, or in the tub rather, and then also like shower height. And it was very versatile, I would say. But yeah, so they all had like heaters and dryers. There was basically like 4 or 5 different settings for the bathroom.
Ventilation.
Different ventilation settings. Whether they were like heating and drying or like, I don't necessarily say cooling, but just sort of like airflow stuff. But yeah, we would wash our clothes. They'd have a washer that would have a good spin cycle, but no dryers. And then you just hang your clothes up in the shower, in the bathroom,
and turn on the drying cycle.
Turn on the drying cycle, yeah. And it worked really well.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. Like, we had a load of laundry almost entirely dry between like going out to dinner and coming back a few hours later.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and then it also, the other positive, right, is you've got this wet bathroom, right, because almost all of them were the floor of the bathroom was actually also the sort of like stand-up shower. The toilet often was outside of the
Usually,
bathroom.
almost always,
Yeah. And the and so you have just this wet room. You put it on the dry cycle, you're not getting mold,
yeah.
right? It wasn't musty or stinky. They're always like,
I know, yeah.
even though they're never windows, they were always in the interior of the building.
Could use some.
Yeah.
We could use some serious better ventilation
in our
basically every hotel in the United States.
Yeah, what is up with that? Like new hotels have terrible ventilation.
They do.
I don't understand.
Okay.
Yeah, so we didn't even talk really about the onsen bathing though, but yeah, the hot springs.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so
talked about the hot springs.
Oh, we have in the past,
episodes,
right?
Yeah. So, but yes, I do. I liked that much more than I expected. I was intimidated by it and relieved that instead of being sort of like an awkward, uncomfortable experience, that it was just really nice.
Yeah, you could be naked around people and not have to actually talk to the locals.
Right. Yeah.
There was no obligation
there was
really
no
to
obligation,
it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think for me, partially, like I grew up swimming, so I spent a lot of time naked around other girls, like changing into and out of swimsuits.
I avoided sports at all costs, so I've never taken a shower. And I guess I've gone to like gyms a couple times, but yeah.
So for me, like that wasn't. It doesn't feel super unnatural to be naked around other women for me. But even with that, I was worried that it was just going to be like more crowded or awkward or whatever, and it never really was.
Yeah.
Everybody just kind of lets you do your own thing, and
yeah, it was just pleasant.
Yeah,
it was nice. Very very relaxing. There's a lot of opportunity for relaxation out there for a culture that, as we mentioned this before, has one of the highest suicide rates in the world.
It's known for being so uptight.
They work like unbelievably hard, especially at like Tokyo and the big cities. They find a way to find relaxation, and whether that's like drinking yourself to oblivion and passing out on the train, which we didn't really see too much of that.
I mean, we definitely saw very drunk people.
Yeah.
But I also sometimes wasn't sure if they were like actually that drunk or they were sort of performing a level of drunkenness.
Yeah, especially you'd see like business groups leaving at the end of the night, and there was
like if some of the hilarity isn't like
well, and like maybe also this, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, is that like I saw one where someone was definitely pretty drunk and the other people were kind of being extra jovial. Like, do you think you do some stuff to like help people save face if someone's drunk too much, that
maybe
the rest of you kind of like amp it up a little bit to like avoid embarrassment? Anyways, we got a phone ringing. Let's take a quick break here anyway, and we'll come back for some of the things we want to do next time we go back.
We wanted to talk a little bit, briefly, since I know this is kind of going long.
Yeah, but this is the final wrap-up episode.
I know, it's the wrap-up of the whole thing, so of course it's going to go long.
Look at the levels are all red on that.
Oh, you're really excited.
Yeah.
Anyway. Lost my train of thought. So we only went north this time, right? And we did that purposefully. So, I mean, I would like to explore some more of the country in a different direction for sure.
Yeah. I've heard awesome things because we're kind of doing our list here, right? I've heard awesome things about Fukuoka, and then we saw anybody who's like probably more than passively thinking about going to Japan may have already watched Chris Broad in Japan on YouTube.
It's the best pun. I just love it so much.
Got like a series. He rode his bike from like kind of up actually where we were, on the northwest coast of Honshu, but he rode it all the way down to the bottom. I don't even know if the final episode's out, but he has a great one where they cross over all these bridges. I don't know if that's the inland sea
thing?
Yeah. But man, it just looks gorgeous down there. I don't think I need to go to like wow, I'm gonna draw a blank. What's the really far south, like Hawaiian
like
sort of beach
Okinawa?
island? Yeah. But I would like to check out like Fukuoka area and then Hiroshima for sure, of course too, because the memorial there is actually supposed to be really amazing. I think I would be a little bit of shame as American there, but I think it's important to go and check it out. Also, okonomiyaki is that's the sort of the southern spaghetti version, noodle version.
I'm sure there's more ramens to try.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there was Hiroshi ramen that I had once, but I'm sure there's other ones.
Actually, tonkatsu ramen, which is the like thick pork-based one, I think that's actually from down south.
Yeah, that would make sense because we didn't have that almost anywhere. Everything was chicken
Yeah.
or soy sauce.
Uh-huh. And curry.
Yeah, I mean, I had the dandan or tauntaun,
Or not
whatever
curry, miso,
noodles
rather.
were
Oh, right.
were pork based, but like other than that, and I mean, almost all the ramen that you get, at least in the U.S. and the South, seems to be pork based.
Yeah. Well, we're pretty
It's
porky.
the South,
Yeah.
you know.
So yeah, like seeing more of the country would be good.
Mhm.
But man, it'd be tough not to. Like
I do want to go back to Sapporo, like I really do.
I know.
And I
But
want to
it's-
go to that other town on the side that starts with an O.
Yeah. Otaru, I think.
Yeah, like there's a lot of revisiting that I would like to do.
Yeah. But I think honestly, yeah, if we go back, we should just go south.
Yeah. And I would, and the other thing that I would want to make sure to do within that is then also still find smaller towns to go to.
Yeah.
Because I did really like exploring places where people don't go, and that's a reason why.
I mean, people go, they live there. They've lived there for thousands of years.
Right. Where.
Yeah.
That aren't. Sorry.
I know,
that aren't
right.
Tourist.
Yeah.
That aren't tourist
Yeah.
destinations necessarily.
But man, we got to keep on top of some Japanese and learn
Right.
some more
Exactly.
of it.
Yeah. I mean that requires work because it does require that. I mean, my Japanese skills are sort of minimal.
Yours were better than mine, and I did 400 or 300 and something days of
I know, but
Duolingo,
I'm
right?
like only getting further away from when I actually took
I know.
Japanese classes.
Yeah.
I did think about taking them again, but then it's like, what am I going to sacrifice from my like actual like work life in order to do this? So it's a matter of if I want to do like research, if I want to learn Japanese. Basically.
So on one of the lists of regrets would be not having more Japanese, and
Yeah.
also regretting that you just can't make that time, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could,
Yeah.
but I really thought about it. I was like, oh, they have online Japanese one, at my school, and I can, take it for free because I work there. But also, like, then like all my spare time is taken up by homework.
Yeah.
So, and not grading other people's homework.
So yeah, next time definitely south.
Mhm.
Because I mean, we hit a lot of the country, but I mean, we even just like land-wise touching it, we didn't even touch half of it.
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, it's a bigger country than I think I quite realized when we first started this. You think, oh, it's a bunch of islands, but it's a long island, so there's a lot of going on, and a lot of geographical diversity.
That's true.
From more of a cultural perspective, right? But so yeah, what else is on your list of things that you want to do again?
Be better at Japanese.
Oh yeah, we just talked about that one. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, be better at Japanese. That's the one that's not. Yeah.
That's the hardest one.
That's the hardest one to do. Yeah, I wanted to eat more street food.
Oh right, eat more
We
street
only
food.
ate a little bit of it, and the couple times we did, it was all like we were just walking. And I was like, no, we're stopping. Let's do this. And like I wasn't even hungry because we talked about just eating all the time. But like we got those pretty darn good like butter waffle things at that place, and we got the
I was actually hungry then. But
waffle.
Fish paste waffle or fish.
Well, yeah,
bean paste waffle fish.
Yeah, so it's in the shape of a fish, but it is not in any way fish.
No,
it
it's
is
just
basically like waffle batter with sweet bean paste inside.
Yeah.
And it's got a name that I can't remember. But that was on my bucket list. That was one of the things I wanted to do, and we were walking by one right by Yoyogi Park, and I was like, we're stopping here for this. But yeah, we didn't get any takoyaki. Again, not the end of the world. We didn't get any tamago from like in the good vendors kind of things, So again, like we did so much, I would not even put that in a like I feel bad that we didn't do it, but like I'd want to try to focus a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
Or keep it on my list.
Yeah, fair enough.
I already talked about the Sochu tour.
I have some packing regrets. So,
oh yeah. Should have bought better jackets. You tried to convince us to buy them, and I was like.
I mean, he thought it was my jacket suggestion was too dorky, but I would buy one that crushes down much smaller. I ended up carrying quite a large jacket, and it wasn't as cool as it was supposed to be, and I only really used it like twice.
Yeah. Well, it was the same. But you brought a rain jacket and a jacket, which is the thing that I thought was strange. I just got a jacket that was a jacket and a rain jacket.
I know. Yeah.
But I mean, we had plenty of space. Like probably a couple extra outfits would have been good. Because we mentioned this on other ones. If this is the first one you're listening to, we just had two like 21-inch carry-on suitcases.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we were there for 22 days, we only had like 6 days of clothes.
Right.
And that had to include like a reasonably heavy jacket because it was supposed to be cold and rainy in Hokkaido.
And it just ended up not being, which was great.
Yeah. And this is like the travel insurance too, is like we carried around these coats. If we had not brought the coats and if we had not brought an umbrella, it would have rained and been cold, right?
Yeah.
Like we helped ourselves have good weather.
But
I mean, that's
also,
superstition.
I took a swimsuit with me, which you absolutely do not need.
No.
Like, unless you're planning on going to the ocean and swimming or
Yeah.
something.
Right.
But no.
Yeah, because hotels have onsen. They don't have swimming pools.
Right. Yeah. So you don't need a swimsuit.
Yeah.
And mine took up a fair amount of space,
Yeah.
and so I definitely wouldn't take a swimsuit to Japan.
Right. Packing things. We talked about the clothes dryers in the bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
The first hotel we stayed at,
Airbnb,
didn't have a like clothes hanger thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like going to Daiso, which is like a dollar store basically, or going to Don Quixote, or Donkyu is just like a. I hate to admit it, but it's kind of like a Walmart. But with like more fun, interesting stuff. And everything from high end, like super high end booze, to like super cheap snacks, to sex toys. Like they've got it everything at Donkey.
It's
so
true. We looked at it all.
I mean, it was 8 floors, right? I mean,
yeah.
but we spent like $5 or something on a little drying rack that we ended up carrying with us. We didn't necessarily need again, but we used it multiple times. So it's like, think about the things that you can just buy when you're there and make it make sense. And then we also just bought an extra like giant duffel bag. It was like 35 liter or something like that. So we came home with an extra suitcase effectively, but it cost us $15, $20 or something like that at Donkey. And
that was just so we could bring back souvenirs for people.
Right. So yeah, like think about, you don't necessarily need to go with all the space you're going to come back with. Just sort of plan for.
Yeah, for buying a bag if you need to.
Yeah, and come back with that later.
We didn't buy any of our souvenirs until the last couple of days either.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to, for the most part.
Yeah, we brought some flat stuff
with us the whole time. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so packing decisions.
Those are my packing regrets.
Live and learn.
Other than that, though, I bought a suitcase that I really like, hard sides, away. It was expensive, but I think it was worth it.
Yeah, but it's not like a tummy or whatever the hell. Like, I mean, it was still within the realm of.
Yeah, no, it was fine.
Absurd,
I mean, I think it's going to last a long time, and I travel enough that it makes sense.
Yeah, lifetime warranty.
And I was going to say something else. Oh, packing cubes I do actually think are helpful. I do like having them.
Yeah. Well, the away suitcases are kind of nice because they're kind of like built-in packing cubes themselves, because they're like two-sided. It's like a clamshell, and each side compresses down internally. And Rachel's, what was that? Oh, clams, yeah. Sorry, that's a shout out to one of our sushi pantomime communication.
We did it that I think, actually.
But yeah, the packing cubes were super useful, because like we'd get to a hotel and I'd like pull out my thing that had just my underwear and socks in it, and then kind of like, you could unpack and not feel like you were living out of a suitcase, but also not have to fully repack your suitcase every time.
Right.
Yeah, that was killer. Nice. That was good. You swayed me fully on that one.
Yeah. I was skeptical before South America, and I used them for South America and liked it, and I do think they're super handy.
Yeah, South America would have been perfect for me too, because I was using that one sort of just like big top load one, and it would have been a lot easier. Yeah, what else? So I've got that's pretty much. Oh, I had one, since we just talked about the other thing that made you blush a little bit. Like I don't regret that we didn't go to a capsule hotel, right? Everyone's a capsule hotel.
We looked for a Kinko's themed love hotel.
And right. Rachel wants to start one.
I'm mostly kidding about that.
But yeah, I mean the capsule hotel, if you're traveling as a couple, I mean it basically means you're not sleeping in the same room.
Right.
And I mean it's already a little bit of a bummer that you can't. I mean you can find some. We had a private bath at one of the onsen that we visited, but usually you're not going to like enjoy the onsen with your partner,
right?
I mean unless you're same sex partner, then of course
of course
awesome, you can hang out and you can chat to each other, but you did kind of go your own way. But so the capsule hotel would even be worse, because you're like sleeping in your own thing on a different floor, and but I kind of wish, I mean even if we just like took a nap sometime during the afternoon, like it would have been fun to like go to a love hotel just for the sake of going to one, but we
Right.
only ever saw one.
Where
I mean, we
were
saw more of them.
we?
That was in it was in Akita.
It was in Akita.
But
yeah.
we were both like tired and needing food and a little bit like the grouchy, hangry was starting. And we saw it and we're like, "Whoa, what is that? Oh, it's a love hotel." But it was just, yeah, it wasn't.
It wasn't the time.
Yeah.
Time wasn't right.
But so that would be kind of like just goofy.
Yeah.
Right.
All
The anything
Put
else
that
you
on
can think
the
of?
list. I don't think so. I mean, I was really happy with our trip experience. There's more things that I want to do, but there's very few things that I
Yeah.
that I regret about the trip. I mean, mainly it's like I could do a couple packing things better. I wouldn't take that one flight. I would just take the train instead because it was like so close in time, and we just wasted so much time sitting.
Well, it's because we're both a little bit weird about flying in our own ways.
Right. I mean, I didn't realize quite how incredibly tiny the airport was, nor, I mean, in Japanese security is different than US security. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not, the lines aren't as long, it's not as much of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So, all right, well.
Yeah, I don't know. That's Japan. So where are we going next? We'll have to figure that one out.
Colorado.
Well, we
like
got Colorado,
2
yeah.
weeks.
Visiting some family, and then you're going back for some friends.
Yep. And then England, Wales.
Oh, right.
Wales.
Yeah, I've got an opportunity to live in the UK for a month for work. So we will definitely be podcasting from that a little bit. Rachel will join me for a little bit of it.
I wish I could join for the whole time, but
yeah, we
we've
got this
a
cat.
cat.
The with fighting new and interesting nasal problems.
Oh my god, he's so cute. Right now he's just like, he likes to hide behind the curtains so the birds can't see him, which means he can't really see the birds either.
But he looks all
feels so
stocky.
sneaky.
Yeah, you can see he's got this like look on his face. It's pretty funny.
Anyway, so he's being super sneaky.
So we'll try to be back next month. We're trying to do at least once a month-ish.
Right.
And we'll probably be talking about Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you'll do one with the ladies.
Yeah, we'll see. I could probably, I mean, it will just be like 4 women hysterically laughing at you for half an hour. But
well, then then really have to rein it in.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
You can check us out at anchor.fm/rainitin. That's spelled REINITIN, all one word, no spaces, and you can leave us a message there. You can also follow us at Instagram at rainitin_podcast or email us at rainitin@ssdpress.org, also spelled REINITIN at ssdpress.org. Thanks again to all of our friends and family for all the support and for putting up with this. Have a great day.